Alright everyone, so as you get logged into your Surface, there's going to be a couple of settings we're going to adjust before we start on our first assignment in Photoshop. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to change the default browser. So you're going to go to default apps in the search bar here. If you just type in default, that should be the first thing that shows up. We're going to change the internet to Google Chrome. So you want to click on Google Chrome and then you're going to do make Google Chrome your default. This is going to help just with the compatibility when we go in to log in with Photoshop. Edge has a tendency to be a little bit aggravating when we go to Photoshop. So we're going to switch that over to Chrome. The next setting we're going to look at is going to be looking at the pen settings so that when we use our stylus, it's going to help minimize some of the kind of interfacing issues that you can have where the Surface picks up your hand instead of the pen itself. So you can choose which hand that you write with. You can also look at ignoring touch input when you're using the pen. This is going to minimize any of that interference where the Surface starts to pick up your hand instead of the pen itself. Everything else in here should be good. And then the third setting that we're going to look at is the battery settings. So when you click on your battery icon here, we're going to go to settings. And then you'll want to click on power and battery. What we're going to do is we're going to change this power mode. We want it set at best performance. So if it's on either recommended or better performance, switch that over. Additionally, if you are on your battery, just make sure that the battery saver is not on. This is going to help just with some of the optimization with Photoshop so that it runs a little bit more smoothly. And then the other couple of things that we're going to look at are going to be some of the settings in Photoshop. So as we start working with Photoshop itself, it should appear as Adobe Photoshop 2025. Let me know if this does show a previous year for you. Everybody should be on 2025 on their devices. They should have all been updated, but do let me know if there's any that are not up to date. And then as this starts to log in, first thing that it's going to have you do is going to get logged in. So if you've switched your default browser over to Chrome, you're going to go continue to Google. It's going to pop open your Chrome browser. You're going to click on the company or school account. And then it should, if you're already logged in, it's just going to have you cycle back over. If you haven't logged in, then you're going to have to enter your email. Then it'll bring you to the Omni ID portal. It'll have you enter your information through there, and then it'll pop you back over to Photoshop. But then once that's opened up, it should look something like this before we get into a document to change some of our workspace. First thing we're going to do is we're going to pin Photoshop to the taskbar, so it'll always be down here. And then for right now, I'm going to have you open a new file, and we're going to change a couple settings in our workspace. So right now settings on this document don't matter too much, and you can keep that untitled. And then the few things that we're going to look at are going to be looking at the workspace that's over here on the right side to make this a little bit more compatible to our first project and to make it a little bit easier to operate. So this should be set as essentials. If it's on something else, just switch that over to essentials. And then we're going to keep the color menu. We're going to close out this tab group with properties, adjustments, and libraries for now. And then we're going to keep the layers tab as well too. Once you have it looking something like this, I'm going to change the color menu to color wheel. This one can be helpful with this first project. And then the other things that we'll want to change out, we're going to be using mainly the lasso tool on this first project. So I'm going to switch this one from the selection brush tool to lasso, and then I'm going to switch the paint bucket tool from gradient tool to paint bucket. And then this will be kind of just those optimized changes to make it a little bit easier as we get started. And then this should save when you open this up again. But that should be everything for settings. All right, and then you should be good to go. Tomorrow we're going to start to look at setting up some of our save settings and starting on our first assignment in Photoshop. But you should be all good to go. Let me know if you're running into any issues with any of these settings. But these steps today will just make it easy for everybody so we're not running into issues when we get to the assignment itself.